What's up, insiders? You got Sam here. Whatley's on one side of me. You figure it out. But it's the new year. If you aren't excited about that, this January, Xactimate made some huge changes, and it's going to affect how you estimate moving forward. It's going to be some cool new line items as well as some yield changes that we'll look at. But what do you say we take a look at those new line items, Whatley?
Yeah, let's get cracking, Fletcher.
New line items. Alrighty, Whatley. What do you think about the 8 new line items we've got here? There's some really, really big ones. I'm excited about these. Are you excited about these?
Well, I think for the true builders, like if you're just a straight MIT provider, these 8 new line items don't necessarily hit. But if you're actually busting out framing and timber, and then, house wrap otherwise, this really matters. So these are some really large line items, and there's some line items that I personally have felt needed to exist for a long time. Number 3 and 4 there. I won't steal your thunder.
Don't take the thunder.
Definitely had my eye on those for a while. So it's really fun when I see the pricing team make adjustments for something that, has been rolling around the back of my head for years. Yeah, the true builders, tune in for this one. Regardless, with the changes to existing line items, the porting events that Fletcher alluded to, this month is big and it's going to hit everybody. Over to you, Fletcher. What's going on with this blocking or shower?
Yeah. Let's just dig into the details a little bit here. So this is a pretty cool new ad that I find is going to be probably used a lot more than people would realize. I think there's a lot more application for this outside of just showers and grab bars. But essentially what their intent was for this was to put horizontal structural blocking in the framing in the event of if you're doing like a handicap grab bar, to make sure you have something structural to adhere it to, as well as if it's poured shower pan. So if you've ever done a poured shower pan, God forbid, with the rubber membrane, you're supposed to put blocking around the perimeter of the shower to more or less support that, so that the cement and everything isn't trying to go beyond the membrane and kind of curve and deform the pan.
And how far are you bringing up the blocking typically in your experience? Is that just the 10 inches maybe around the pan itself?
It could be 10 inches. I would say 10 inches to 12 inches is probably going to be sufficient, because with those liners, they have to come up, I believe it's 6 inches above where the concrete will end.
Yep.
But you could also use this in the scenario if you're doing cabinets. A lot of high-end homes nowadays, if you're doing upper cabinets, it's rare to not find blocking in the kitchens. They're making sure that they have good places to adhere those cabinets with structural screws or nails, generally screws in the case of a cabinet, because it's just hard to hit a stud in every scenario, especially with some of the intricate designs and fancy cabinets that we're seeing these days. So there's a lot more.
Like a 4x4, 4 foot by 4 foot, like high grade shower surround. You'd have blocking for like 2 linear feet on this side, 2 linear feet on that side. So you have 4 linear feet. Would you think it'd be warranted to include blocking for the floor joist itself to have a base to pour on? Is that how you've seen it installed?
So in the case of this, it's vertical blocking. So it's between the joists, but at the perimeter of the base of the shower. So you would do, like, if you have a curb, right, it'd be the perimeter of the floor of the shower, less whatever the curb length is. So if you have a 4x4 shower,
just the perimeter, but you're not going to have it on the flooring joist, is my point.
No. It's for the vertical framing to support that concrete. So the blocking would be installed flush with the framing, and it's to support that concrete so it doesn't deform the liner.
Yeah, makes sense. So I'm just trying to give the audience like some perspective for what would be like a warranted amount of linear feet for a shower surround. So under that scenario, you mentioned the curb, but there is a line item for the curb. So the way I see it, if I'm a staff adjuster, if you're sending me over a 4x4 shower surround, I'm looking for approximately 4 linear feet of blocking.
It would be more, because if you have a 4x4 shower, you're going to have a 4-foot curb where you have an opening into the shower in most cases, and then 3 4-foot walls that are tiled. So you would have 4 feet times 3, so it would be 12.
So you want it around the whole perimeter,
even
if you're using the curb line item.
Anywhere where you have a vertical transition from shower pan to shower wall.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Okay, so I'm glad I clarified. So I would be incorrect with my 4x4, which would have been, oh boy, I was way wrong with my math. I was thinking 8. And you're saying is the full
It would be 4 times 3, which would be 12.
12.
So you would have
12
three
linear
4-foot
feet.
walls.
Okay. So the takeaway is if someone is applying this to your shower, look for the perimeter floor of that particular shower feature. That's what would be reasonable. Okay, got it.
Yep. Next, not huge, but still, I think really helpful in certain scenarios where you might be doing repair to floor joists rather than replacing them entirely. So if you look into the details of an Xactimate line item for existing joist line items, they do include blocking, which is kind of a superior method to doing bridging ties. But if you're doing individual repairs, which I think is pretty common for an...
Is there any image for a bridging tie within that line item or otherwise?
Not within the line item right now, no, but it's kind of like cross bridging. So think of like
Can you like Google it?
Yeah, sure. Let's go
Because
ahead and pull it up.
I can't be the only one. There's got to be somebody, okay, out of our 23,000 members who've signed up at getinsights.org that are going to get this video. Not exactly sure the differences.
So here, let's take a
got
peek.
it. I
So
understand.
that's
I'm
what
glad
cross
you
bridging
showed it.
is.
Thank
So
you.
the purpose of cross bridging is, one, it helps to span load across multiple joists. Blocking is much more effective at that. And then it also avoids twisting of the joists after they've been installed, because generally they're going over fairly long spans.
Makes sense. Cool. Glad you pulled that up. Thank you.
All right, and then the next two for framing are, I think, pretty huge. These didn't exist prior, and I would imagine that people ran into this in a lot of scenarios that they wouldn't have thought of it, but they probably should have had it. But outriggers. So they've added in for 2x4 and 2x6 outriggers, or if you've got a 2x4 or a 2x6 rafter. So generally, if you're doing a 2x6 rafter, you're going to have a 2x6 outrigger because it would match the soffit and fascia. Or if it's 2x4, you would match that as well. So 2x4, you're going to see more common in a scenario where it might be an engineered truss. But for generally stick-built homes or stick-built roofs, you're going to have 2x6.
Got it. And in my experience, the roof assemblies for Xactimate do not calculate anything for the rake overhang. It doesn't matter whether you're calculating those trusses by square foot or linear foot. There's just no relief for this function. Can you pull up an outrigger again, like an image? So some of those, there you go.
So here's an example of, this would be more of a traditional outrigger on like a stick-built roof. So you've got your 2x6 rafter coming across to like a center beam, and then you would do a 2x4 flat across the last rafter to then extend out whatever your necessary soffit is on like a gable end.
Awesome. Cool.
So it could be 10 inches, 12 inches. You generally wouldn't see these go beyond 12 inches just because there's not going to be a lot to support it at that point being flat.
Yeah, this is the line item I was alluded to, Fletcher, at the outset, that it's glad to see on here. One of my mentors, Ted Foster, the chief training officer over at Belfour, roughly that's his title. Ted explained to me about a decade ago about these outriggers, and I had no idea that, I was otherwise paying for this and doing this, and that wasn't in the assemblies in the Xactimate, because it's easy to assume that it was. But it's great to see that now finally this addition is made, and I suspect that our boy Ted Foster or Chuck might have had something to do with its adoption. So it's great to see those line items finally make its way to the published price list.
Yep. No, I think it's really cool seeing things like that come out. Continues to make me more and more excited about using this program. Next, we got a couple of new house wrap or Tyvek, whatever you want to call it, whatever region you're in and you refer to it as. But house wrap, we've got self-adhered versions, both in the insulation and siding categories. So a little more opportunity there to add those if that's what you need. It didn't exist before, so I'd say that's a pretty good add in terms of having something more aligned with modern construction methods. So that's a good thing to see.
If you're a restorer, probably biased at SDG in so much as it pays about 20% more because the labor rates associated with siding far exceed that of insulation itself. So that's why you see a delta in price there.
Yep.
So this is a DuPont or Tyvek, which is really familiar to somebody like myself who lives out here in San Diego, Pacific Southwest, and you kind of stucco. That's what you see on almost every single property is that DuPont Tyvek, this self-adhere. But this self-adherence is the higher grade of that Tyvek. There is non-self-adherence and then there's self-adherent. So great to see that this edition now exists. Right on.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely cool seeing that. Last we get into just some new line items for the timber category, specifically purlins. Any thoughts?
Yeah, dude, you got to show us what a purlin is again.
Let's go ahead
I
and pull
say
up an
again
image.
because he showed me a few minutes ago, but full disclosure, I did not know what a purlin was off the top of my head. So Fletcher's going to show us what the heck a purlin is, which might help. This relates specifically to timber construction. As I understand it, it's not that customary with traditional framing methodology. But if you got timber involved, get ready to be making some concessions for your purlins. What, purlin grit, right?
Yep.
Girt?
Yep.
No. What is it?
Purlin.
Yeah, but it says /GIRT in the line item.
So let's see.
Yeah.
So you've got like a girt, but at the end of the
a girt.
day,
Not
a
grit.
purlin is like what you see here, right? So like this is a steel building. It's not like perfect for a like a timber structure, but it's at least a representative look. So this end wall girt would also be considered a purlin. It's just what you would put on a wall, but that's what you've got. Basically, you have the main structure, which are these steel beams, or in the case of a timber structure, it's the timbers.
Okay.
And then you would put those purlins across, because those purlins are basically what become the structure you can adhere something to, whether that's siding, whether that's sheathing. Like on a metal building like this, you would generally have the structure, the purlins. They would do drape roll insulation on top of the purlins and then install the siding on top of that, like the metal siding.
And so the girt, so this line item would apply to both a girt or a purlin.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Similar way.
Yeah, they're very more or less the same thing. Most people refer to it on a wall as a girt rather than a purlin. Purlins are more traditionally referred to as ceiling or
Who comes
roof.
up with all these words, right? Like some builders like standing back. What do you think, Fletcher? Looks like a girt? It's a girt.
It's an engineer. It's an engineers, man. They come up with the words they like.
Uh-huh. All right. Purlin and girt it is. Got it.
Alrighty. Should we check out the changes?
Yeah, let's check them out.
Checking out the changes. So not a ton. We had, I think it was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 changes with miscellaneous changes, some various things here, but they had some description some description changes on the notes field for both the solar panel DNR per lease agreement line items that they added recently, just making it clear that it's per panel. So pretty minor there, just more clarification. It's cool to see that they did that so quickly after coming or releasing those line items. Next, we saw some adjustments on all vinyl plank flooring. Specifically, they modified quality field of the replace definition with updated qualifiers for grades of plank flooring.
And didn't you mention that the price went down for the
There
vinyl plank
is a
flooring?
slight difference, so let's go ahead and look at a side-by-side here.
And it was what, just relating to
My computer
the
would,
material itself?
Yeah, it was a slight difference in material price here, so we can pull up that info for standard grade, for example. Look at the price. So you can see for the January 2026 price list, standard vinyl plank is $1,944.
Yeah.
And then if I go over to the December price list for that same line item, it's slightly higher. There's not a huge difference, but enough that you'll probably notice it. On a larger floor, it's 2.067. So
Okay. Well, I can get down with that. Like, I don't think a lot of things are going down in price. Like, labor is just generally marching up. But a petroleum-based vinyl plank flooring product, perhaps there's more automation associated with the manufacturing process, etc. And it's just one of those products where I think there's a lot of downward price pressure. So it makes sense that that would be refactored to come down a little bit. But it's not a material amount one way or the other.
Yep. And then so they did that across the board from standard to premium grade for vinyl plank. And then there is a yield adjustment for the tear out subfloor and bag for disposal. So modified labor component yield in the removal assembly, which ultimately, if we do another side by side here, was a reduction in yield. So the price went up because the yield went down. So you can see the price list in December was $717 per. And in January, it's $729. So roughly a 12-cent difference there, I believe.
Okay. All right. Cool. It's great to see like those little adjustments. You just know how much work is going into managing these 18,000 structural line items. And so they're conducting surveys, making, small tweaks as warranted. So here we are. That one came up a little bit. That one bends in the direction of the restorer. All right, so the modified restoration remodel total loss labor efficiency. This is what I was alluding to at the outset, folks. That was like a big deal, and this is going to hit every single estimate you guys touch for the remainder of the year and for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely.
I'm going to call an audible. I don't think it's prudent, Fletcher, for you and I to get into this off the cuff in our price list update summary video. Why don't you and I shoot a separate video? We get underneath the hood of what the supporting events changes are, the intention of the published, of the pricing team, and how one could position the application of these updates from both the carrier side and contractor side. What do you say?
I think it's great. I think there's a lot more here to talk about than just a video and kind of what came out for this month. So I think it's good to have a little more information for everyone out there.
Yeah, because this is big shit right here.
Yeah.
This is big. So, but anyhow, let's make a separate video for everybody. We'll circulate it on Ninjas, etc. So, all right, cool. So I think that closes out our new line items. We checked out the changes. What do we got going on? We got to look forward to the future.
We got to get our crystal balls and start looking forward to the future.
All right.
Forward to the future. So let's take a look. So there's still some exciting things, I think, coming. Not quite as probably as exciting as it was this month with some of the outriggers that we saw. I think that's huge, but still seeing some cool things. Continued review of material associations of different grades of shingles. I haven't seen anything in the release notes thus far on changes to pricing, so I have a feeling one of these months here in 2026 we're going to see some major differences in shingle pricing. Add items for removing plaster with asbestos, so more opportunity there to reflect if there's asbestos containing plaster, which is something we run into in the industry. So I think it's cool to see that we're going to see more opportunity to have a complete asbestos project. I don't know. Have you ever wrote a asbestos abatement estimate in Xactimate before?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. I used to train that quite a bit, actually, because it was a bit of a mystery to those environmental folks. And then as, like Alliance, that's a big player out here on the West Coast, and, they're all over now. They brought Actionable in years past to train Exact because they were doing managed repair program work, and they needed to do it in Exact, but traditionally they hadn't. So I actually been around the block there with asbestos, and I had to do that back in the day when there were so few line items for it. But the pricing department has been adding a lot of line items for asbestos abatement over the last decade, making it easier all the time. What else we got? Lifting and inspection for tarp roofs.
If you're a roofer, you should be excited about that one.
Yeah,
add
dude,
items for lifting and inspecting tarp roofs. I think that's awesome.
Exciting might be overstated because these are line items. I mean, you and I are nerds, but that one is impactful, let's say, because that's a problem long-standing in the industry.
Yeah. Well, it's just, again, in those scenarios with contention too, when you're trying to work through stuff with adjusters, having a line item that is like supported and easily justifiable because you can go to its description to help describe what it's intended for, I think is huge. Rather than, hey, I need 3 hours of labor. Like it's harder to have that conversation. So that's the thing I see with this is such a huge benefit.
Yeah, and then window exhaust vent.
Yep. And then items for window exhaust vents, which they're not, I would say, that prevalent anymore nowadays, but you run into them.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, close this out. Take me back to the new line items for a moment.
Sure.
Here's the deal. I think in my experience, a lot of times, leaders of departments, say the mitigation leader or the mitigation or the repair GM are watching our videos, right? But some of the struggle is like, how do you get this information to your estimators? And you might forward this email along to your crew and thank you for the support and like and subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. But ultimately, it's very difficult to communicate all the new line items that are hitting or even the line items that are changing and line items that are disappearing. And so I want to give you guys solace. We've solved this problem. After doing this video series now for the last 8 years, it's just become untenable, all that information. The good news is we've outsourced that to the machines. So for those of you who haven't checked it out, the actionable profile is the AI-powered version of Xactimate. It does not suck. And if you include any line items that give us the impression that you might be doing a tile shower surround, what are you going to see? You're going to see a reminder in real time, similar to like Grammarly for Xactimate, saying, hey, blocking dash shower might be warranted, and we're going to provide guidance, one, about that line item, but we're also going to be providing real-time guidance about what kind of linear footage. So you watch Fletcher and I go back and forth. I had it wrong at the outset. He corrected me. And all of that logic is just built now into Actionable's version of Xactimate. So check it out. It's $1.62 for the first month. So if you can bet $1 on us, this little nonprofit would appreciate it. We've been working hard on it for 6 years, and it's getting damn good at this point.
Yeah, I think it's great. And you know what's funny is that's less money than a can of fake snow.
Okay, Samta, I got it. A few of you will get what he's calling back to. Yeah, I had no idea how to price fake snow, but I got a guy for that, apparently. So,
you gotta price out your fake snow. But hey, 1 month of our profile, you want to try it? Less money. I think that's a better bet
than fake snow. Yeah,
it's more entertainment. Definitely more entertainment.
All right. On that note, everybody, thanks for joining us this month. Keep building.
Stay humble.